Okay, so I will start this global conference on global journalists, human rights defenders, and intellectuals all over the world. So the theme of today's event, today's conference is Global Journalist Leadership in the Time of COVID-19 Crisis and Future Impacts. That will be asked on that topic to only the journalists who are in this forum. The second one, global effects and implication on post-COVID-19 development, economy, and diplomacy. That will be asked to our intellectuals, researchers who are in this forum. And the last one, human rights issues faced in the time of COVID-19. So these are the three topics we are going to discuss, debate, and share our opinions, views, and experiences. So now, I would start with the introduction. We have Chairperson of Girija Prasad Koirala Foundation, Kathmandu, Nepal, former Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal, and former Foreign Minister of Nepal, Honorable Sujata Koirala. Let us welcome her in this forum.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I go as per the confirmation email I got, first come, first serve basis. So first confirm and followed by the rest. Bharati Silwal Giri, who started her career as a radio journalist in 1976 in Nepal and founder of English monthly magazine Media Nepal and an advocate of gender equality all over the world. Welcome her. Next, Dilbhushan Pathak, a TV journalist, founder of Interface Nepal, Media for Arts and Rights. And he's not here yet, so he said he'll sneak in anytime in between. Next, we have Bose Bahadur Balaya, journalist and PhD student. Next, we have Fardouz Askar, first woman to head a major radio station in the Middle East. Fardouz Askar. So she's not in yet. Next, we have Vincent Lin, international journalist and columnist. Vincent Lin. Next, we have Andrea Wen, international journalist from Spain. Next, Dr. Leon Ng, editor-in-chief, Wall Street News Agency. Next, Marivir Montebon, journalist and executive editor of OSM, a media fellow for reporting of COVID-19, MSU, New Jersey. Next, Ang Chering Sherpa, first Nepali journalist to climb Mount Everest. I don't see him yet. Kaushik Ahmad, editor at the Weekly Bengali. Professor Indrajit S. Saluja, chief editor, the Indian Panorama. Prabjot Singh, executive editor, PTC TV, India. Anuj Thapa, journalist from The Strait.
Thank you, Somnath, for having me.
Lara Gregory, attorney and counselor at law.
Thank you for having me.
Soma
Good morning,
Saheb,
everyone.
ASQ, ESQ, and attorney at law, incoming president of the Queens County Women's Bar Association. And he had more, and she had more other designations, so it's kind of long. She's gonna explain it later. She will talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Victoria Piloti, President of Center for the Women of New York. Teresa Naciel from Brazil, the founder of the Portuguese Language Society at the UN. Professor Bizan Pant, PhD, as advisor, Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, Secretariat at MPPN at Oxford University, United Kingdom. And last one, Mobiz Siddiqui, journalist from Dunia News. I welcome you and thank you for your valuable time in joining this World Forum. To begin with, I would like to invite Honorable Sujata Koirala, Chairperson of GPK Foundation, and former Deputy Prime Minister and former Foreign Minister of Nepal for her welcome remarks. And I would like everyone to mute your microphone, please.
Zoom meeting during the pandemic caused by COVID-19, which has confined the humanity to indoors. I would like to thank you all for joining this meeting despite being located at different time zones and places. As we all know, coronavirus crisis has changed everything and devastated our normal life. This is, of course, a challenge to all of us, also an opportunity to start anew. Journalists have a great responsibility during this pandemic, whether pandemic or disaster or normal times. Journalists have been eyes, ears, and voices of peoples. Journalists reach there where even states have no access and bring out the stories for actions. Journalists deserve our salutations and commendation. I want to thank you all for coming, and especially thanks to Somnathji for inviting all of us and organizing this program. So let's start the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sujata Koirala, for your welcome remarks. So now I would like to go to Spain. Please welcome international journalist Andrea Wen from Spain.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for inviting me. I want to express my respect to all the brave people who is participating in this conference. You are all admirable and it's a real privilege to be here. And I believe it's very important to keep present that fear is the worst disease. The responsibility that the media has in spreading fear is huge because journalists have the power of making fear contagious. In Spain, we have been one of the most affected countries in the world. We are vulnerable because 49% of our population is actually old people. And although to date only 0.05% of the population has died due to COVID-19, this does not mean that we have not suffered great consequence and collateral damage. Our border has been closed since the 14th of March and the reopening is not expected until the 1st of July. And the pillar of the Spanish economy is tourism. And in the last 3 months, our economy is more than ruined. And experts believe that it will be almost impossible to recover from this crisis, and we probably will resort to be rescued by the European Union, which is unlikely that they will actually rescue us. And the decisions that has been made by our government has been radical and have brought fatal consequences. Spain was already in economic and social crisis before this pandemic occurred. And the COVID-19 has only accelerated the inevitable, only causing worse damage, generating such social hysteria that this disease has broken the economic system. One part of the population is so terrified that they no longer consume, and these people focus only on food supply. But it's more worse the fear of uncertainty of the country's future, because it's what politicians call now the new normality. The current coalition government has been taking advantage of this tragic situation to implement a new governmental regime in a disguised way. And as the majority of the population is ignorant of their rights, people are not aware of this issue. Spanish society is very polarized and it's a divided society, both in favor and against its government. And at the same time, the independence parties have taken advantage of the state alarm to negotiate the rupture of the country. On the other hand, the extreme right is fomenting now protests on the streets against the government, which is our government is a coalition of a socialist party with a communist party. And all this movement and social agitation is just terrorizing more the Spanish population. Therefore, the country is facing a historical crisis, both economically and socially. And people do not trust the government that they know how to manage this pandemic, but neither trust the media because it's all full of sensationalism. And since cases are increasing daily, the numbers are changing every day, and a further relapse of the virus is expected. So people is locked up in their houses without income, no money, and just fear. And the consequences is that people can no longer cover their basic needs. And a great number of families are now vulnerable to poverty. This puts the health of the individual at risk. Poverty, you can no longer take care of yourself. So hence we will be even more fragile to relapses of the disease or what is worse to come. So that's basically the Spanish.
Thank you, Andrea Wen, for your valuable experiences sharing with us and your